Welcome everyone. Now let's talk about the identifier rules and the naming conventions in Java. So first of all, what is identifier? So identifiers in Java are the symbolic names used for identifications. Okay? They're used for identifications of the package, such as package names, class names, and as well as the method names and variable names. Those are known as the identifiers in Java. Okay. And identifiers, they have the following rules when it comes to identifiers. The first character must be one of the letters between lowercase letters to or the uppercase letters from A to Z. An underscore or dollar sign could be added depending on the type of the identifier. The underscore and the dollar sign are, as a matter of fact, the underscore and dollar signs are the only special characters that you can include in the identifier. Any other special characters are prohibited. If you try to add any different special character, then you would get compile error. After the first characters, you may use any letter or digit or one of those two special characters like underscore and dollar sign. Okay, to make the identifiers to be readable and understandable, it is required to make the first letter of the identifier a letter. Okay, first character of the identifier should always be a letter. Doesn't matter if it's a variable identifier is a variable or class name or package name or method name. It should always start with the letter. Okay. And white space is not allowed. Not only white space, but any other special characters like exclamation, pound, at, all those special characters are not allowed. And in addition to that, the Java reserved words are also not allowed in the identifiers. Okay. The Java reserved words cannot be used as the identifier of a class name. It cannot be used as the method name, and it should not be used as the variable and package names either. Okay. So those are the Java reserved words. So far you have seen the keywords like public, right? Class keyword, package keyword, okay? The void keyword, static keyword. Those are the keywords that you have seen so far. And many of those Java reserved words, you haven't seen it yet. But during the course, you are going to learn pretty much all of them, okay? So just make sure that next time when you are naming a variable or method or class or package, avoid using those names. And here are a couple more examples of the identifiers. Let's see which one of them are valid and which one of them are invalid. Okay. First of all, for the dogs. So identifiers, they should always start with the letter, but here it's starting with the digits. So therefore it is invalid. Okay. And then in the second name, you see it has my name, but there is a space between them, right? The only special characters that are allowed in the identifiers are the underscore and the dollar sign. And they cannot be the first character of the identifier. First character should always be a letter. But any other special characters other than the underscore and dollar sign are prohibited. So therefore you cannot use a space here. Therefore, it is also an invalid identifier. And in the next one, it is using the dash, so therefore it's also invalid. And the fourth one, it is using this underscore, last underscore name. So this identifier is valid. Okay. So it's not going to give compile error when you use this identifier. But just because it doesn't give compile error, that doesn't mean that it is following the naming convention in Java. Okay. And here we have a value to be. So there's a digit, but digit is added later on, right? It's not at the first character. So therefore it is valid. And then you have the next one, which is using exclamation character. Exclamation mark is not allowed. Any special character other than underscore and dollar sign is not allowed. Okay. And same with the next one. Next one is using the pound and the exclamation. So therefore it is also invalid. And then lastly, it is using the dollar sign as the first character. First character in the identifier should always be a letter. So therefore it is invalid. So the valid identifiers here are this fourth one and fifth one. But it doesn't mean that though they do follow the naming conventions. Okay. So naming convention will be depending on the type of identifier, depending on if it's a class name or package name or a variable name or a method name. Okay. So what does it mean by naming convention? So naming convention is basically a rule that we programmers needs to uh, follow as we decide to name our identifiers. For every type of identifier, we do have a certain rules, and we should follow those rules when we are naming our identifiers. Okay, that way it's going to make the programs more understandable by making them easier to read. By following those rules, when we look at the identifier name, we will know it's a class or method or variable or package. Okay, because each of them has different rules. Here are the rule naming conventions in Java. For variables, the naming convention for variable is it should always be noun, okay, and it needs to be using the lower camel case. Needs to be a noun and the lower camel case. Lower camel case means by variable should always be in lowercase. But when there are more than one words in the variable name, then you should apply the camel case. So for example, first name, you see this variable name first is in all lowercase, but for the second word name, n is in uppercase. To make it more readable, we apply the camel case to make it readable. So this is known as the lower camel case. So every time when you name your variables, make sure that you are applying lower camel case. And the constants. So we also talked about the constants in our previous video. We stated that every time when we use the final keyword to declare the variables, it's the best if we make all the variables in uppercase, right? So every single final variables in Java, whether the built-in or user-defined, should always be in this screaming snake case or all uppercase. Okay. So if there are more than one words, you should apply the underscore. You should use the underscore between each of those words when you have constants. And the class names needs to be in upper camel case. So whenever you see those kind of naming conventions, you can just tell that it is a class. Okay. Every single class in Java, the built-in classes, they are in this format. Okay. The naming convention of every single built-in Java class are in upper camel case. Okay. And the packages should always be in lowercase, all lowercase. Okay. If there are going to be more than one words in the package name, we use underscore. But all the words, all the characters in package name should always be in lowercase. And then next is the methods. Methods in Java means the function. Okay, certain action it means. So therefore, when you name the method, it should be a verb. Okay, something that's describing an action. It should be a verb, and you should apply the lower camel case just like you did it with the method, with the variables. Okay. And interfaces, which you will learn it in the future when we cover the OOP principles. So besides classes, we can also create interfaces in Java, and interfaces they should have the same naming convention as the classes, which is upper camel case. But interface names should be adjective, not the noun like the class names. Also, when it comes to the naming convention, first character should always be letter to make it more readable and understandable. Okay. And you should not be using the $, even though it's not going to cause any compile error when you use it in the variable name or class name. But when you add the $, it's not making too much sense. It's not readable at all. To make it more readable and understandable to the other programmers, it's the best if we follow the standard rule for the naming convention. So please avoid using the $. And the underscore is mostly most commonly used for the constants and the packages. So if you don't have constant variables, please do not use this underscore in your naming convention. And for the packages, yes, you can always use this underscore. Just make sure that every single character in every single letter in package name is in lowercase. Okay. And our custom class names should not be same with the library classes. So in Java, we have lots of built-in classes. For example, string is one of the class. Okay. So whenever you create a custom class in the future, make sure that your class name is not same with any of those library built-in classes. It should not be same with any of those built-in classes in Java. Okay. And also, they may be changed slightly from company to company. Each company might have different naming conventions, but what we covered here is the standard. Okay. And now let's take a look at this practice. Let's see if those naming conventions are correct for a variable. Remember, for variable. Variable means it should be a noun. Variable names should be noun, and it should use the lower camel case. So here, if you look at here, first one, it is using the underscore. The first letter should always be letter. So that's why it is incorrect. And the second one, it started with uppercase. Variable names should be using lower camel case. So this is incorrect. And the next one, you see, it is applying lower camel case and it is a noun. Since it's a noun and it's using lower camel case, therefore it is correct. And the fourth one, it is using the dash. This dash character, it's not allowed to use, so therefore it is incorrect. And the next one, it is using value 2. So it is using the lower case, right? All lowercase. Value, it is a noun. And 2, the digits, you can include it in the variable names. So therefore it is correct. And the next one, it is using lower camel case, get number. However, get number, it is not a noun, it is a verb. So this is supposed to be used for the methods, not for the variables. So therefore it is incorrect. And then next we have the $ and cost. So $ should not be used in the naming convention. So therefore it is incorrect. And then we have the email @ So @ is not allowed. So therefore it is incorrect. And then we have the last name, which is using the upper camel case. It's supposed to be in the lower camel case. So therefore it is incorrect. And day of week, which is a noun, okay? And it's also using lower camel case. Starting from second word, you see each word's first character is in uppercase. Therefore, it is correct. And then we have mixture #3. The pound key is not allowed. And then lastly is the first underscore name. So based on the naming convention, the variable names needs to be in lower camel case. So instead of using underscore here, we're supposed to make this letter N of the second word to be in uppercase. Okay? So this is incorrect as well. So here are the few key takeaways from this module. Declare variables, they must be declared first before we use them. Okay? And you need to use the proper data types in order to store the right type of data into the variable. Data types that determines what kind of value you can store into the variable. Okay? And make sure that give self-descriptive and understandable variable names whenever you are declaring variables. And using the Java naming convention is strongly recommended. Thank you so much, everyone. See you all in the next video.